Hello and welcome back to the green workbench. We are going to make a faux window for a windowless room. I'm personally going to use it in my office where there are no windows, but you can use it in a basement or anywhere else where you want to bring in some light and the appearance of having a window. This one is going to be, like I said, in an office. So I'm not building a full window frame and everything, it'll just be the window. So let's get started. You can build your own window frame from scratch, or pretty much any antique store will now have a stack of old window frames and you can grab one. I had found this one on my property in one of the sheds. It was there not being used, so I pulled it out, and first step was to clean it up. So I took some water and a wire brush and I scrubbed it clean, and that also scrubbed some of the old paint off, which I like. So if you want to, you can sand it down to a smooth new looking finish, or you can keep it looking old and antique. As far as I'm concerned, if you're using an antique, you want it to look like one, so that's what we're doing. And then once I had that all smoothed down and scraped, brushed to where I want it, then I had to use a chisel to get rid of some of the old glazing that had dried on and pull the old glazing pins. And once that was done, the window is ready to go, ready to be worked with. The next thing I did was took some plexiglass and cut it out to fit in my window frame. You can use real glass if you want. Remember, if you're cutting plexiglass, it cuts very easily on the table saw, but to avoid chips and tear outs, it's always a good idea to use masking tape on both sides, so that when you're cutting, it's preventing any kind of chipping or tear out. And that masking tape is on the plastic film anyway that pulls off, and that creates a good cut. So I cut both panes, and those are ready to be put in, so I'll put those off to the side as I continue to prep the window. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can just do it for lighting, so you have a nice light feature that looks like you've got sunlight coming through your window. I'm actually going to put a picture in the background so it looks like I'm looking out the window onto some scenery, and I'm going to add lighting, so I'm doing both. The picture that I chose is one I took of a waterfall up at Yellowstone. You can pick whatever you want to look at, and the cool thing about this project is that I'm going to make it so that you can change out the picture. If you get sick of the scenery, you can change it. One day you can be at Yellowstone, and then a couple weeks later, if you want to, you can be at the ballpark. Whatever you want. So the challenge, though, is the fact you can't put the picture right up against the window pane because you want some dimension. So the picture needs to sit back a little bit, and you want your lighting in between the pane and the picture. So that's what I've got to figure out. I have my lighting on order. It should be here in a couple days, so I don't want to make any cuts until I get that and have the exact measurements. I just ordered a battery-operated LED strip, and I'm hoping I'll be able to work the battery pack into the frame somehow so it's not really visible. If not, I'll figure it out. And then one other thing about the photo, if you want to use, make sure that you take one of good enough quality to blow up that big. And second, you want to use a site that is going to allow you to order a print that fits. And you can either order something to keep the proportions right, just order something a little bit bigger and trim it down, or order the exact. Now remember, if you're ordering it the exact, you want to include this middle piece in your dimensions. So you want to measure from the bottom all the way to the top, because you're going to be cutting out that ½ inch in the center of your picture so that it looks natural, like this is actually cutting out that piece of the scenery. And we'll go over that when we get the picture, but just remember when you're ordering it, I ordered mine from Zazzle, which actually allowed me to pick a custom size so it will fit exactly into my frame. Alright, so my LED lights arrived. Has a remote. Here is the battery box. That should be interesting. It is pretty large. Takes 4 AA batteries. We'll see how I work that into the frame. I'm not sure yet. And then my roll of LED lights. So I got in Wason. You can see that is the brand. There were a bunch of different ones on Amazon, but they all pretty much look like they're the same thing. So we'll figure out how to route out basically a groove in the frame for the lights to sit so that you can't actually see the light strip, but the lights are coming out of the side of the frame. Try to make it as realistic as possible. But I'm excited that's here, so now I can measure it and make the cuts to fit. Alright, so you've got your frame all cleaned up and scraped. And I even sprayed finish on mine first. And you also have your plexiglass frames all cut out. Use duct tape so they don't tear out. Now we're going to create the slots for the LED lighting. So I'm using a slot cutter bit on my router. See if we can see that. So you can see I've got just about maybe 3/16, just enough for the plexiglass to be level with my slot, and then I have also about the same distance here at the top, so that when I place my folder down or my picture down, there's not a gap. So I'm going to continue routing that all the way around my frame, and then we'll work on getting the LEDs in. Okay, so our slot is cut, but our problem is getting through our crosspiece here. So I'm going to drill a hole, go in through the top, up through the bottom, and that way that LED strip will just thread right through there. Alright, you can kind of see that. So now I'm going to lay in our plexiglass, get it set, and then lay in our LED strips. So I pulled off the plastic covering on the face, put a little bead of silicone all around, which will adhere it to the frame, and stuck it down. So I'm going to put some weights on there, let it sit and seal, and then we'll be ready. Alright, the plexiglass is in, and now it's time to run our LED lights. So I'm going to snake those all the way around before I take off the adhesive. So the challenge is going to be in these corners, because it's not really designed to be flat on its face and make a 90-degree turn. So you're probably going to see it a little bit in the corners. I don't know how else to get around that. Alright, you can see here, I routed out a channel here. This is the RF receiver So that just lays flat right inside the frame. And then this cord and the battery pack will be hidden. And I'll show you how I'm going to do that later. Excuse the noise, that's the dog. Alright, I've got it run. Kind of see the corners, how it bends up a little, but it's pretty much flush with the frame because of that little channel that I routed. And that's kind of what I was going for. If we turn it around, you can see it a little bit in spots, but not a lot. Alright, turn the back. From the front, let me turn the light off. So, the one I got for the LED strip is battery powered. But it also operates on a remote, so I can make it brighter, change the color. So now we'll work on getting the picture installed. Here's the picture I'm using. It's a photo I took up at Grand Teton National Park. So you can, I've got to do the backing on it, but you can see there's separation. The picture sits against the back of the frame, so there's separation between the glass, then the lights, then the picture. And let's see, you do see the individual lights. I wish it was more continuous. Let's turn off the light. Still looks pretty good. It would look good with the light across the middle too, maybe, I don't know. But it does look pretty cool in a kind of a dark room. So I'll get the backing, we'll get the backing so that we can mount the photo so that it's tight and there's no light leakage behind, and then we'll look at it actually hanging vertical, and we'll figure out how we're going to hide the battery pack, possibly make a faux curtain or something. Alright, I've got my picture and this 1/8 inch backing, so I've measured out where the picture is going to center here. And you can see I made some marks. So I am actually just using glue dots, which is something that you could get at a craft store. And that's how I'm going to adhere this to the back. You can use like a rubber cement or something as well. These glue dots, once they're on, are super strong. Kind of annoying to work with. But I just raided my wife's craft jar or craft box, and she had a bunch of them. So I'll do those all around the edges there. Alright, glue dots on. So now I've lined the board up so my photo is centered. Clamped it down so that I can flip it over, and then I'll screw this backing in. Alright, so here is my finished window. With that backing screwed in, I could actually create multiple backings and change them out as I want. The only negative to me is the fact that you can see it's not a continuous light. That's just kind of the way the LED light strips are. So I'm actually thinking about doing some curtains, and those curtains would kind of hang here on the edge and diffuse that. They would also help hide the battery box, because right now it's just having to sit behind, which makes it pop out a little bit from the wall. So I'm going to look at doing some curtains. I'll post some pictures of those if I do, and I'm going to show you how I did that maybe in a separate video. But as far as the window is concerned, here is a faux lighted window for a basement or windowless room. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please subscribe, click the notification button, and check out my other videos. Thanks for watching The Green Workbench.